teams coordinator and inside linebackers coach, Jeff Koonz. Questions for Coach Koonz? Very nice.
So Jeff, start with middle linebacker, and obviously the progression of Lee. How has he improved, and then behind him, what are you dealing with?
Yeah, the whole linebacker room, the basis has been fundamentals. That's been the biggest thing we had to improve this offseason. That kind of gets to be coach speak, but it's the truth. It's what we've really focused on the most, Lee especially. He's really done a nice job of focusing on his footwork, which is something that we watched from the last season that got him in trouble at times, and he's done a nice job so far in the first, I think, eight days. Of committing to that and being consistent with that. I really like that. He's still playing physical. He's still practicing extremely hard. We hadn't had as many takeaways as we would like, and they kind of come in bunches. And he flashed in that area today as well. So I was excited about that. He's playing physical. I think his body is in a good place. You can tell the strength staff had a great offseason with him, and he's still working on some of the things, some of the flexibility things and core stability and things like that to help him change direction even better than what he was doing. So I've been pleased with where he's kind of picked up where he left off, and he's made strides from the end of last year. Behind him, we've had a bunch of guys getting a ton of reps. I'm probably the guy that's repping some of the most people in different positions in our room. Tariq Austin Cave has been getting reps behind him at middle linebacker. Josiah Trotter, the new enrollee, the signee, has been getting reps right there. Caden's been limited. Bizer's been limited with some stuff. So we're working through that. But I think all those guys have really done a good job of pushing each other and competing. And like I told the guys today at the end of practice, what you're seeing is guys that they're taking the appreciation of every rep, because I am repping so many different guys. They're making those reps count, and they're not stressing about it. They're trying to have fun playing the game fast, but they also understand there's an accountability that there's a competition going on and for everything. And there's nothing inherited. There's nothing inherited in this program. Everything isn't earned in this program, and that's kind of the mentality the guys have taken, and I'm excited about that.
For special teams, you lose two guys who took it seriously, in Bryce and Sam. Mm-hmm. How do you replace those kind of guys?
You know what? The exciting thing about that is we got a ton of young guys that are ready to fill into those roles. And the cool thing about what you just said is you got two upperclassmen that are training to have a shot to live their dream at the next level, and both of those guys improved their stock because of what they did on special teams. Sam especially, but you look at Bryce Wheaton, and when he did what he did at the Combine, I think I put out on social media that, yeah, he ran that fast to cover and punts too. And Bryce Ford Wheaton didn't come here to be on the punt team. He came here to catch touchdowns and to be explosive. But he did his job. He did it at a really, really high level, and that's going to help him in the future. And the young guys have seen that. And the cool thing is our new transfers have seen that. They understand it's part of our program. They understand it's part of who we are when they walk in the door. So we've had a lot of guys scratching and clawing to try to take advantage of the special teams opportunities they've had, whether it be in competition, in drill work, and be that next guy. And we've got a lot of promising young players that I'm really excited about that'll have a chance to step into those roles and flourish.
Then continuing special teams, replacing Casey Legg as place kicker, you brought in a transfer. Mm-hmm. So what do you see out of the place kicker position? Yeah,
Michael's done a really good job. Michael Hayes, who we brought in and transfer, who was really, really productive where he was before he came here. I was excited about him. He's got experience. He's kicked in live setting in a big crowd, a big environment, big atmosphere. The cool thing is Danny King's competing with him and having his best spring that he's had since I've been here, and I'm excited about that. So they're battling, they're competing. Feel really good about where we're going to come out of spring and out of fall camp. Casey's a established player, established face in this program over the last several years. His completion percentage is so good, or his make percentage, whatever you want to say, is one of the best there's ever been here, and we feel really good about who we have here to replace him.
Is evaluating kickers as easy as just who makes more? Or is
Sometimes it is. I think it's like anything else. You try to instruct, you try to give them their cues, you try to give them what they're focused on every swing. You want it to be as consistent as possible, and at the end of the day, They've got to put the ball between the uprights. They got to put it in the end zone on kickoffs. They got to have the hang time. They've got to have those things. So there's a lot to go with it. The cool things for us, we've got some technology that not a lot of people have right now with this TrackMan system, where these guys can go out there and they can get instant feedback, and to be one of the only schools in the country that has that. And these guys can see the difference in leg speed, strike, where they hit the ball, how far it went, where it would have been good from. They have really, really dove into that, and that's something that we're really excited about, and the guys are embracing that, and that's really cool about it.
Jeff, you dived into the board the last 2 off seasons for kickers, right? It's a small crop of players, and it seems like everybody wants one too.
Mm-hmm.
How competitive is it? And I guess everybody's kind of offering the same thing, a chance to kick off and kick field goals. That could be very similar from one school to another.
Sure.
How do you make ground and distinguish what you have versus what someone else has?
Oh, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, when you're consistent on the opportunity that you give guys, I think people know that when we're recruiting, we're honest. We tell them the opportunity they're going to have, and they get that opportunity. No different with Parker last year, no different with Michael this year. But we also don't promise anything. These guys are brought in here to compete. And you got guys coming in here that are already here that have been working really hard, and they're going to have a chance to compete. At the end of the day, the numbers aren't going to lie. And last year, we had a competition for field goal, and the numbers decided that Casey Legg was going to continue to be the guy. And Parker understood that, and Parker won the kickoff job and did a good job. So I think at the end of the day, those guys want to have a fair opportunity. And then I'll go back to this, and I know I don't want to make it sound like it's the golden goose, but when you have something that nobody else in the country has, when you have the TrackMan system that we've invested in, that sets you apart. That's like, that's like going to a school to play golf, and they've got the nicest practice facility in the country. Well, when those guys go out there and they can have that to their ability right now, and nobody else has that, that kind of levels the playing field a little bit, and that's been a huge help for us. And then, like you said, being able to come and kick in the atmosphere that we have in Morgantown is something that draws kids here. And I'd be naive to think that kids also don't come here to be the next Pat McAfee. And he's done a great job in his career as a kicker and punter, and what he's done now. And he's a face, he's a name, and he's part of our history here, and we're really excited to have that. So yes, that does come up in conversations, and we're excited about that.
You had to go for linebackers too in the portal. Can you compare just the competition for players? Because again, the quantity and quality is such that I guess it.
Yeah. I think it's the same. I think obviously those guys, with that, it's more the guys that go in the portal. They're counting reps. They know who's there. They know who's coming back. I'd say that's probably the biggest difference. I think everybody in the country knew that we lost Casey Legg. Whereas at linebacker, you've got 7, 8, 9 guys. Well, who do they have? Who did they redshirt? Who the depth chart? All those things come into play when you talk about that. But like I said, I feel really good about the opportunities that we've promised have been there. They've been fair. They've been real, and I think people know that, and that's a huge reputation that's important to have. But I would say it is different. The markets are different. It's no different than, you go in the portal for a quarterback, or you go in the portal for a receiver, and then you go in the portal for a linebacker or a D lineman, and it's always based off of need. If there's a ton of high quality people in the portal and there's only a couple of schools looking for them, there's going to be guys out there still. Likewise at a position of need that everybody has a very similar position of need, it's a fight.
Got all that technology. When are we going to replace coaches and umpires?
I hope never. I'm not replacing coaches, Lord.
Yeah, the idea of coaching and machines telling you things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right now, it's a feedback. It's just it's how fast the feedback that we can give them with that technology, and so now it doesn't take 2 days to get it corrected. We don't watch it on film, say, hey, go here, they see it instantaneously, and now they can go to work on that within 2 seconds, and that's a beautiful thing about it. It's instant feedback, and there's positives and negatives in today's world with technology, but that's definitely a positive, and that's the biggest part of it.
Oliver Straw, it surprised you last year at all, first year competing in what he did, and then what do you want him to improve upon now?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. What I think we did a really good job of, though, is I think we really cultivated what he was going to be, or we figured out what he was going to be really good at early on, and we really hung our hat on what he was going to be really good at. He has the ability to do so many different things, but to ask him as a first-year player in Power 5 football in the Big 12 Conference to go do all of those things at an elite level, it's not fair to him. So we'll be able to add some more on him, be able to move the launch point a little more, be able to do a little different things directionally as he continues to master what he's doing. The biggest and pleasant surprise, and you look at going back to last year, say Texas, who completely sold out to block punts. They fired corners. They had an elite athlete, that number 7, coming off the edge, and he was able to get the balls off with outstanding distance and hang time with an unbelievable operation. Now, some of that is Brinkman and how consistent he's been, and I can kind of lead into that too well. They have a relationship right now, and they have a moxie together right now that is really, really special. And for them to get that as quick as they did when Ollie got here was invaluable to us as a unit. So I'm not surprised. I do think there was a plan, and I really think he did a good job of executing that plan that we had for him. And then we'll grow the plan as he continues to execute what he's doing. And consistency is always huge. There's always room for that. But was very pleased with the outcome of being where we were. And I think we had a very successful year on the punt, with our punt cover defense being highly ranked and our net punt being highly ranked because of his distance.
You mentioned Mike. What about Will, linebacker?
Yeah, Will right now, we've the last couple of years, you've had a guy like Exery Lowe who's been a familiar face, and he's graduated and trying to get his shot right now. We got some young guys that are getting a ton of reps at that position. Jairo Favres, who's been healthy and practicing really fast, really high knowledge. I like where he's grown. With his journey, being a European player, coming as a DB, moving to linebacker, overcoming an injury a couple years ago. It's just kind of been and now he's kind of getting in a rhythm. And the fun thing about him is he's really smart. He's really intelligent. He works really hard. He answers questions. He communicates really well. Probably a little head in coverage than run game wise, which is to be expected. But he's made strides in that. Trey Lathan, I think is having a very solid spring. Flashed on Saturday. Definitely had his best day once we went live on Saturday. Production wise and assignment wise, it's a kid that we were able to redshirt last year, but he played in all 4 games. Played in some victories. Played in some games that we weren't able to pull out. But I'm really excited about what he's doing. Probably a little further ahead in the run game than he is the pass game, but making strides in the pass game. So doing those things. Started out Ben Cutter there, and excited about him. Just like I talked about with Josiah, 2 high school kids. First time I've had that opportunity since I've been here to have 2 early enrollee high school kids. Both super talented. Really, Ben's been a quick study, and both really physical, and both have the tools that you want, and really happy about both of them. So it's been a little bit by committee. We definitely have a competition at all positions, but especially at Will, just with the graduation of some guys that have a lot of experience.
What does Jay Sean Pope bring that as a returner that you
Yeah.
already have?
That's a great question too, and that's something that we identified. I think Coach Brown talked about it in some of his press conferences. That's something we identified this year in the portal as well, is trying to bring in some skill, whether it be in the secondary or at receiver, that also had return skills. And and you guys, I think, have heard this for a couple of years now. We do a lot of work in spring in these controlled competition environments. The one where we kind of do a kickoff versus kickoff return, where the returner has to set it and kind of hit it. We're not there yet. That's in the second half of spring ball. So I'm going to get a little bit more evaluation of him live. But off of film, he's exactly what you want. He's got legit raw speed. He's done it. He's returned in ruckus environments. And I'm excited to see how he sees it. And, we haven't necessarily had an issue with speed back there. It's been really just seeing the holes and hitting the holes. And there is a knack to it. And he's shown on tape that he has that knack. But we're looking forward to kind of grow into that part of spring that's going to come up in the second half.
On the flip side of the return game, Coach Brown brought up a few times last year, and it was evident in the Townsend game, even though West Virginia won big, on blocking and preventing the opponent from getting solid return yards or getting solid field position.
Kick coverage, yep.
Do you feel better suited for that this year? How do you have to improve on that? What do you do to make that better, even though there's a little different of a group?
Yeah, another really good question. I think we saw improvement from the Townsend game, and there were some guys in some situations, especially on the one that they brought back. We had some young guys in there that it was their first time playing. It's no excuse. They're out there. They're representing all of us. Some of the guys that were on the field for that play came on as the year went on and really helped us and made some plays as the year went on that unit. So I think some of your question was answered. As the year went on, we did have some positives on that unit. at the end of the day, kick location is important and everything is tied together. So there's that aspect of that as well. But now that has been a huge emphasis in the offseason. Those competitions have started. Today was our second day of those kickoff return, how guys are running down the field, how they're defeating blocks. That's critical. But, our big thing is to make that unit as simple as possible where guys can really, really run down fast, be physical at the point of attack, get off blocks, and go make plays. And you play your best players that you have available to you on those units. So trying to grow the depth chart on that unit has been a huge part. It kind of goes back to your question about replacing some of those guys, the receivers, those skill guys. We're still having to continue to build depth and you take some young guys like a Josiah Trotter, Ben Cutter, James Hurd, some of those young early enrollees. Well, those are guys that are big, fast, physical dudes, and they're here early, and they're going to have opportunities now, not just in spring but in summer. And then there's a ton of other guys that have come on this year that weren't in the mix last year. Maybe they were red shirts. Maybe they have stepped up. So without going into A through Z on names and things like that, I do feel good about the progress we've made on that, and it has been a point of emphasis.
Fox, I'm sorry.
When did you first hear about TrackMan? And then hearing what you talked about, how do you apply it, I guess, at them with the kick?
Yeah, for me, that was one of those deals where being a linebackers guy and a special teams guy that's not something that was in my wheelhouse. Tony Thompson, our special teams analyst, had heard of it. He's kind of been in that community, in the specialist community, so he knew about it. And then they have a sales rep that travels the country. It's the exact same system that they use on NBC. I don't know if that's Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, whatever that is. But when you watch the television copy and they show the direct line of the ball, that's their system. They just have a permanent one set up in those stadiums. So they have that version of it that they market. And there's probably, I don't know if it's half, but close to half of the NFL teams have it. They've invested in it for the NFL, and they're kind of growing their way into college. So to have the opportunity to do that was huge. And like I said, that's something that I have seen progress. I have seen progress on it, not just with our current development, but then also, again, in recruiting.
Preston Fox, do your primary punt return guy, or who else is working there? And then
Yeah.
Who else besides Poke at kickoff returns?
We're trying to build a big pool, as many as we can. We've got a ton of guys back there. A bunch of our running backs, Justin Johnson, Tony Mathis, Jalen Anderson, bigger guys, tougher to tackle, along with Poke. We've had Andrew Wilson-Lamp back there before, a guy that can truly run. Davis Mallinger will be another guy that's going to have that opportunity. Punt return wise, Preston has picked up where he left off. I think he got to the end of the year there where we saw what he can do against Oklahoma State when he's given a seam, and that was a big return. Unfortunately, it was called back, but it gave you a glimpse. He also had one early in the year too when he got an opportunity. He had a really good explosive return. So he's kind of been the bell cow on that. We do have some other guys we're kind of trying out right there. Montre Miller's one that has done it before that we're giving a look back there. And then there's probably a good 4 or 5 other guys. But Preston has done a nice job so far this offseason.
Is that TrackMan technology the same stuff we'll see this weekend in the Masters?
I don't know if it's the exact brand. I don't know that. Golly, TrackMan's going to have to help me out after this one. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know if it's the same technology, but very, very similar. But it's the same technology that you see with pro golfers. If you go to Top Golf and they're showing you your swing speed and all that, it's the exact same technology. It's just outfitted now for football and for specialists.
You mentioned
It's 100%. I agree 100%.
You mentioned you mentioned McAfee. I was going to
Yeah.
bring up Pat-Man Jones.
Yes.
Obviously very close with McAfee, and he was actually here not long ago. And I know he talked to the team, and we saw clips of that. But did you try to glean anything from him? Did you get him to talk to maybe the special teams group at all? Tell me about his work as a
I didn't have to say a word to him. He went straight for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the kind of guy he is. Yeah.
Him mean to the group, especially in person.
Pac-Man does such a good job when he comes here of seeking out people, seeking out guys, seeking out whether it be punt returners, whether it be defensive backs, it doesn't matter, man. And he does such a great, we don't have to say a word to Pac-Man. Like when he's here, he's invested, and people understand when he's here how special it is that he's back here and how special his time was here and how bad he wants this program to be really successful. So when he goes and he talks to Preston Fox and, hey, here's some things that I did, and, and sure enough, the next day we're out there and Preston's doing a drill that, well, hey, he did it at a high level, the elite of the elite, So the guy's obviously, not only did he play at a high level in the NFL, but he played here, and he was very adamant about how special it is to wear the old gold and blue and what it means to compete at this place. And heck, that's coaches as well. I mean, we love that, and it's great to have that.
Okay, anything else for Coach? All right, thank you, sir.
Guys, thank y'all. Ladies.